urge all of you all, whoever is going to the taps to drink water, to be informed that we are now in boiled water and it's not safe to drink at all. So please be mindful. You can buy a bottled water from the shop, from Govinda's town, but we won't advise you to drink the water from the taps. So please be mindful of that. Hare Krishna. So let's we all rise for the Aarti ceremony. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sarva Padumo Isavadara Bhati Yar prasade bahai hi bhavatu iyaya Krishna prabhi hoya hoite Krishna prabhi hoya hoite Guru mukha padma vakya chitete kuriyaya Harana Kuriyo Mane Yasha Harana Kuriyo Mane Yasha Shri Guru Charane Radhi Hezi Udavagati He prasade pure sarva hasha. He prasade pure sarva hasha. Chakuna nirunchen chame chame prabhu se Divyagani divragachito Prema bhakti ahoide avira vinasayate Nidegan chaharacharito Shinguru karuna sinlu hadu bada dala bandu Lokina lokira jivana Ha Prabhu Godidoya Jayamoni Parachaya Nidegan Insludribo Padha Shila Prabhupada Padidava Padha Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnaya Bhutare Shri Bhakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Bacharine Nivishesha Shunyamani Pashachari Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivanjari Gaura Bhaktarita Caitanya Nityananda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astatara Sata Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astatara Sata Shishimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki, Anantakori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव शरी गौर भक्त वृंद की Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. Giriraj Govardhan ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Gangamai Jamunamai ki. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi ki. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to today's Sunday's Love Feast program. Welcome to online community. And welcome to those joining us for the very first time. We will now be watching an inspiring video.
Everything is sufficiently supplied by Krishna. In Los Angeles, the neighbors, they are very envious that you do not work. You have no anxiety and you have got 4 cars, you are eating so nicely. How is that? They inquire from our devotees. That is the actual fact. We are spending so much money, we have got so many centers, the calculation is about $70,000 we are spending. We supply. Somehow or other we are getting. So there is no problem. You simply become sincere servant of Krishna, everything is there. This is the test. They are envious of us that we do not work, still we have got so much. So why don't you come and join us? That they will not do. You come with us, chant Hare Krishna. No, that I cannot do. All right, then work with your tracks. They have made their own position dangerous and others' position also. They say at any moment there may be accident. You see, this is civilization. Nonsense. This is not civilization. Civilization means calmness, peace, prosperity, shanti. In peace and prosperity, one should be Krishna conscious always. Tasyaiva heta prajateta kovida lalabhate jad brahmadam uparjadha. In the animal life or other than human life, we had worked so much, only for morsel of food, day and night working. But still, the food is there, simply. Avidya karma sangha anya titya shaktirishyate. Avidya, this material world, is full of ignorance. So therefore, our endeavor should be how to come out of this ignorance. Tasyaiva hetu. For that reason we should work only. How to come out of this ignorance. Thus I am this material body, I have to work day and night, and then I shall get my food, then I shall leave. This is ignorance. Tasyaiva heta prajate. So this ignorance, this life of ignorance we have passed in the forms other than the human being. Animal life, bird's life, beast life. Now, this life should be peaceful, calm and quiet, and jivasya tattva jigyasa, simply for inquiring about the Absolute Truth. That should be the business. Simply. Jivasya tattva jigyasa, athato brahma jigyasa. Simply sit down, just like we are sitting down. We are sitting down and inquiring about Krishna. This is life. This is life. And what is this life? Working day and night like ass. No, that is not life. Therefore Bhagavad says, your life should be engaged for this purpose. Tasyaiva heta prajati kovida. Kovida means intelligent. Then how my economic problems will be solved? The answer is Tallabhati dukkha badannata sukham. You are after happiness. Are you after distress? No, sir. Why distress comes upon you? You are not anxious for distress, calamities. Why do they come upon you? Similarly, so far your happiness is also concerned, that will also come upon you. Because your life, according to your karma, is mixed up with some portion of happiness, some portion of distress. If the distress comes without any invitation, the happiness also will come without invitation, without any endeavor. Because you are destined already. There's so much happiness, so much distress we will have. Destined. So you cannot change it. Try to change your Lord, this material conditional life. That is your only business. Tasyaiva hita prajati hita kovid nalabhati jad brahmatam uparjata. Brahmatam uparjata. You have tried. Brahmatam uparjata. Upar means higher planetary system. Sometimes we get our birth in higher planetary system as demigods. And sometimes adha as animals, as cats and dogs, as janma, the stool. This is going on. This is going on according to our karma. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Ei rupe brahmanda bhramite kono bhagwan jeev. Only a fortunate living entity gets this opportunity of association of Krishna and Krishna's devotee. Then his life becomes sublime.
Srila Prabhupada ki. We will now be having our class, so I humbly request that we please turn off our cell phones. It's an honor and a privilege to introduce you to our speaker for today, His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami Maharaj. And the topic is, why does bad things happen to good people? So His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami Maharaj is our resident guru and needs no introduction. However, for the benefit of newcomers, I will provide a short bio. His Holiness is a disciple of His Grace, of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He's been preaching Krishna consciousness since 1973. As an initiating spiritual master in ISKCON, he serves on the GBC and travels extensively to preach in South Africa, India, and Russia. He is also an accomplished author, accomplished photographer, and a filmmaker. One of his notable activities is documenting his pilgrimage tours to the holy land of Vrindavan, where devotees can immerse themselves in devotional activities and deepen their connection to Krishna consciousness. I now hand over to Maharaj.
That's right. Jaya Radha Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari. Kopicana Baba Kirivana Kopicana Baba Kirivana Yashoda Nandana Brachijara Jara Yashoda Nandana Brachijara Jara Yamuna Tira Barachari Yamuna Tira Barachari Jirata Badava Kunjabihari Kopi Chanababa Kivadanari Yashoda Dada Rajara Jara Yamuna Dira Barachari Jira Badava Kunjabihari Kopi Jalababa Kirivadari Yashoda Nandana Brachijara Jara Yamuna Nira Barachari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada
Srimad, His Divine Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Sri Sri Radha Radhanath ki Sri Giri Govardhan ki Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Sankirtan Yagya ki Gaur Premanande, all glories to the Decimo devotees, all glories to the Decimo devotees, all glories to the Decimo devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, so devotees and friends, welcome welcome. It seems like it's an endless summer now. It's meant to be winter, isn't it? Or something. Anyway, better an endless summer than an endless winter, but I don't know even. So the subject, what a subject. Why do bad things happen to good people? Or, I think quite obviously, one could turn it around and say, why do good things happen to bad people? Or you could just turn the whole thing upside down and say, why does anything happen to anyone? You know, what's the mechanics behind it? How does it work? It's just a really good question, actually. So, to begin with, I'm just going to read a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Actually, really, to begin with, please just repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yes, so I'm going to read a verse which applies in a certain sense to the subject matter. Yeah, it's an interesting verse. And of course, it's a very interesting subject. This is Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, HH Bhakti Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. And this is now verse 50. Buddhiyukto jahatiha ubhe sukritita dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujyashva yoga karmasu koshalam. And the translation: a man engaged in devotional service, and you can just say, I mean, it's in a generic sense, it's not just men. It's just everyone, all human beings. So we could say a person engaged in devotional service rids themselves of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Yes, so that's very interesting. And of course, it's certainly part of the subject that we're looking at today. Why do bad things happen to good people? Or as we mentioned, why do good things happen to bad people? Or even, how does anything happen? Or, like, what is behind anything happening to anyone? And what a subject that is, isn't it? It's just really quite a subject. Many people, or not just many, but I would say the great majority of people, do not feel or accept that before this lifetime we're in right now, they do not accept that there was a previous lifetime prior to this very one we're in right here and now today. And what to speak of just another one before this one, but in Krishna consciousness and Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is very, insistent repeatedly that we're all eternal persons. Eternal means not just that we don't die, of course it includes that, but eternal means we're also never born. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings. This is another verse from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That's verse 12. Lord Krishna says those words to Arjuna. Never was there a time when I did not exist. He, Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, being God. But it's not just him, it's us too. It's all of us. We have been already living for an eternal period of time. You cannot say hundreds, thousands, millions, billions of years. What was that figure you came up with the other day? Vigitillion. Vigitillion. I never heard of it till Smita Krishna Prabhu was kind enough to sort of enlighten me on the subject. Vigitillion is 1 followed by 64, is it? 64 zeros. How's that? Yeah. What about becoming a vigitillionaire? Yes, but so 1 followed by 64 zeros. That's really, by our standards, just as sort of ordinary people with ordinary experiences of time and the passage of time. It's just, we cannot grasp it. We can't really grasp it at all. It's just too vast. But actually, we have been living for much longer than that already. It's been eternal. There was actually no beginning. And there will be no end. Of course, in terms of our bodies, these bodies we have of flesh and blood and bones and so on, they are not eternal. And I think that's generally pretty clear to everyone, certainly to devotees, that we're all aging. I was young. What's your age now? 29. I read about this one family, and the wife and mother was very attached to maintaining a certain facade in front of people. So she would always, if ever somehow the question of what her age might be would come up, she would always answer 29. And this was one of her children was pointing this out, that she's been doing this for quite a number of years. You get it? She's been 29 for maybe 5 years or something, because she doesn't want to, 30 is sort of a landmark. She didn't want to go beyond. So, but these bodies, certainly, when you're young, what's your age? 20? 20. Yeah, right. And some, what's your age, Varshana? 17. 17. You may be the youngest here, perhaps. and others like me, I'm an old person, and so many of us here, so many are middle age or wherever it may be. Yes, but so these bodies are temporary. These bodies are temporary. So when this point is made by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, or even in other traditions, there is the idea of like that you could go to heaven, means, like just eternal existence. Different traditions, they have a goal like that you should try and become qualified to go to whatever that place, whatever they may call that place, beyond this regular world of ours. Yes, so, but in Bhagavad Gita particularly, and these other traditions, there's also mention made to some degree. But in Bhagavad Gita, it's so extremely clear, at least in terms of what Krishna says, that we are definitely eternal. There was never a time when we didn't exist, and there will not be a time going into the future when we will not exist. Yes, so particularly in Krishna consciousness, where this point is so just really, really clear and just really foundational, this idea of bad things happening to good people, it's not difficult to deal with at all. In fact, it's very simple. It's no more difficult than, if you got sick yesterday, that today you're still sick. And it's not a question of, how am I sick today? What happened? But you were sick yesterday. And it's like a continuum like that. So yes, from lifetime to lifetime, it's all a continuum. And if you happen to be one of those people who have some sort of conviction that this is it, meaning this is the only life, there was no other life before through which, we could do some things from which we would get results we receive now in this lifetime. And there will be no next life for me to worry about, what if things from this life catch up with me next life. It's such a problem. In fact, it's basically, what would you say? It's just impossible. It's impossible to give a reasonable, religious explanation for why some people are born rich, some are born poor, and animals like pets. Some pets are born in, or somehow they are acquired by certain owners who may be rich people. And so now the dog is living in a mansion, whereas we are living in Unit 5 Chatsworth. Well, that's where we're living. That's where we are. I believe they call it Arena Park. But it's still Unit 5 Chatsworth, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, right. So, but the dog, I had experience of a dog, or even a couple of dogs actually, owned by, not like any billionaire or anyone like that at all, but at least people who are well off and who had a Rolls-Royce motor car, And I don't know if anyone here has a Rolls Royce. Quite likely not. But this dog, or there were two of them actually, they would occasionally, the owner would take them out when going to somewhere in the Rolls Royce. And the dog, the boxer dog, Pedigree, is sitting in the passenger seat, surveying the scene and thinking, look at these commoners, the little people, who cares about them? Or, look at these dogs, the other dogs. So how did that happen? None of us, I think, well, I don't know, but none of us probably are going home in a Rolls Royce today to sit and look around. But that dog was going all over, chauffeur driven. This is karma. This is karma. And if you accept there's only one life, nothing before, nothing after, then, I mean, particularly nothing before, how do you explain it? If there is a God. If there's not a God, you could always say, well, you know, it's just luck, chance, something like that. But if there is a God, look at the extremes of, you know, situations that just humans are living in. Some very poor, some very wealthy, some extremely powerful, influential, and some just, you know, mistreated and subjected to all sorts of horrible things. If there's a God, you know, it's and only one life, I would say it's basically inexplicable. As long as God is nice, if God is not a nice guy, he might want to laugh at you, you know, if you go bankrupt and thinks it's a big joke. Yeah. In fact, there was one Jewish rabbi, his name, would you believe, was Harry Kirshner. And I'm not joking at all. And this man became quite famous. Rabbi Harry Kirshner. You can look him, you can Google him. I saw his name yesterday when I was looking into this subject in preparation. And I'd heard about him from years ago. He was one of these people who feel there's just one life, and there was no life before through which you could have earned anything at all. But, you know, he's a Jewish rabbi, so he accepts there's a God. So if there's a God, but there's only one life, and people, particularly when they're born, they're just in, you know, all sorts of different situations. Then what does it say about God? How should you think about God? And he suggested, he wrote a book. Well, actually his book was called, if I remember correctly, How Do Bad Things Happen to Good People? And so he felt there were two possibilities. One is that God is all-powerful, but he's not all nice. So therefore, when people get into, you know, bad situations, he, like I mentioned a minute ago, he may find it amusing. Yeah. But actually he's powerful enough. He could adjust everything, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care enough to help people. Because, you know, I mean, some people look at what's been happening and what is happening, like in the Middle East, if you keep up with the news even slightly, you know, these Palestinians, good God. I mean, Hare Krishna. Yeah. I mean, it's, well, all these children and just sort of average people getting blown to pieces. And if there's only one life, then it doesn't seem to be fair. So anyway, that was one possibility. He's all-powerful. He could do it, but he's not nice. So therefore he won't look after people. But the other alternative is that he is nice, but he's just not able. Maybe he was able before, when there was less people perhaps, or something like that. Then maybe he was able to see that with good people, only good things happen to them. And with bad people, only bad things happen to them before. But then, you know, it got sort of beyond his capacity to control. So now he's good. It's not that he likes it when bad things happen to good people, but he just can't deal with it. This was his philosophy. Now, there are these two alternatives, and that was his conclusion. Hare Krishna, Rabbi. Yeah, God is a very extremely nice person, and he would just love to see all the good people, just everything is just so wonderful for them. But he's not able. He's kind of not incapable, he's just not capable enough. So that's a serious problem for people who don't think there was a lifetime, particularly a lifetime before this one, but then they think there is a God, but then they see all these different things happening. Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Yes, right. So anyway, you know, that's what he thinks or thought. But in Krishna consciousness, you know, Lord Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita, also Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna makes it clear that he definitely does love everyone. And not just every human being, but he loves all living entities. Even, you know, the insects and the animals and so on and so forth. He loves them all. But he also makes the point, and very strongly he makes the point, that he is completely in control. And he's completely able to control everything. Because, as he points out, that he is within not just everyone's heart, but he's within every atom. Imagine being able to control, say, your children on an atomic level. You would be able to stop them doing any naughty or any mischief, because you'd have such control, total control, even on an atomic level. So he is really in control. And there's a couple of verses I could mention. Let me just refer, let's see. Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, verse 7. O Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. chapter 10, verse 8. I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. And, it particularly comes out actually in the 10th chapter, right at the end of the 10th chapter. Just bear with me for a sec or so. The last few verses of the 10th chapter. In the 10th chapter, Krishna has been explaining how he's everywhere, he's in everything, he's controlling everything, etc., along those lines. Yes. Then he says in the 10th chapter, verse 41, know, speaking to Arjuna, know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So whatever amazing and wonderful things there are in this world, it's not like they're, serious, big manifestations of, like the extent of the capability of the Lord. They're just coming from a spark of his splendor. And the last verse in the 10th chapter, verse 42, but what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. That's pretty powerful, isn't it? Yeah. With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So this is Krishna. So anyway, here we're talking about, the question is, and this is the problem for the one lifetime people, or no lifetime before this lifetime people, is that in this world, there is so much, we could say, causality, causes and effects. Like everyone here, we are however many people we are, but we are, so to speak, effects caused by our parents, isn't it? And I'm sure quite a number of you, many of you, you already have children of your own who are effects caused by you. So cause and effect is, it's a big feature of this material world. Like you can say, we have to eat to live. If you don't eat, you die. It may take a month or two, I'm not sure, but takes a little while, not too long, and you just starve to death, and that's all there is to it. Because the food is the cause of our body's ongoing existence. Yeah. And therefore, a very nice feast is going to be served shortly. Happy to inform you. In case you are wondering, are they going to serve a feast today or not? But it's not just, eat or not eat. People eat in different ways. And people have different physiologies, different bodies which function in different ways. Some people, they're just prone to be very skinny. And even a number of skinny devotees, very nice, but very skinny, have told me they can eat as much as they like, practically all day. They cannot put on weight. It just doesn't happen. even if they try their best. And others, at the other end of the scale, there's a certain condition which is called, if I just look at food, I put on weight. Oh, there's a term for it, actually. There's a term, like a kind of humorous term, but, for some people it's like that. They may have big, heavy bodies, but it's not like they're just eating and eating and eating. It's just a certain type of, physiology, digestive system. So there's subtlety there. Even in this very simple example of eating and living, there's subtlety there. And there are subtleties in terms of how did we get to be in the families we were born in? How did we get to be where we are now at this stage? There's so many subtleties in that. And yes, there's so many subtleties. And good things happen to bad people. I shouldn't mention any names, should I? Anyway, I think you know well enough. At the Adolf Hitlers of this world, the National Party and others, who did bad things, just amazing bad things. But they live at least a very comfortable and in many cases quite well off or even quite wealthy existence. These things are going on. Yeah, these things are going on. So what is the system of cause and effect behind this? Well, of course, our understanding, which, as we mentioned, Lord Krishna repeatedly talks about, and in Bhagavatam and all the Vedic scriptures, it's all there just throughout, almost on every page, about us being eternal living beings. So for us, it's not really a problem. In the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, someone was telling me the other day, who was it? Anyway, it was a devotee. He can't get past the 5th canto. He starts the 5th canto, and it gets a bit complicated, and he stops. And then later he goes back to the 1st canto. So I told him, look, you must push on, because the last chapter of the 5th canto is very interesting. It's a vivid description of the hellish planets and what places people go to if they do, various different bad activities. Yeah, it's really interesting. And, even if it takes someone like Adolf Hitler or, nowadays, Mr. McDonald, if there is still a Mr. McDonald, and if he's still owning, that business, and he's responsible in the sense that he's getting so much from possessing that business. And so therefore he's responsible for the deaths of who knows how many, and in so many cases with them, cows actually, not just animals, but cows. So anyway, you check in the last chapter of the 5th canto and see what happens to someone who is in such a position. It is truly incredible. Maybe there's a case for a vegetarian births, or maybe not that many, but I'm sure many, many millions. Wright or Colonel Wright, Colonel Saunders or Sanders. With him it's not, well, of course he's ventured into the burger thing, so some cows are involved there, but otherwise it was, so to speak, just chicken. But even with chickens, they're not on the level of cows, but it's bad enough. Oh, is it bad enough? How many lifetimes are these people going to take of suffering incredibly? As I said, just read the last chapter of the 5th canto, and you'll get an idea. It's amazing. And having said that, even your average person who today is a meat eater, like on a daily basis, maybe even a couple of times a day, whatever it is, what's their future going to be? Oh, Krishna. It's shocking. Actually, Prabhupada said that unless a person like your average person in the street who drinks and eats meat and does various things along those lines, Prabhupada makes the point that unless these people have at least some contact with Krishna consciousness, they're all actually going to go to hell. Literally, to a place which is really extremely not nice. So, therefore, it's really problematic for people on the material level. And so we advise everyone, we try to help everyone to understand the difficulties of material life on one hand, and the extreme value of Krishna consciousness on the other hand. And that really we should just focus on pleasing Krishna and not worry too much about what pleases me and, having to make arrangements. I'm trying to make Krishna happy. I'm trying to please him, but I'm also looking after myself and making sure, I have a nice Lani house in Unit 6, or I don't know, somewhere Westville. Yeah, that sort of split allegiances, Krishna conscious, but also quite seriously material on the other side. So really, as much as we can, at least we should start. And if we've started, we should carry on and keep developing a way of life of pleasing Krishna and not worrying too much about us. Because Krishna will look after us. If he looked after Prahlad Maharaj through all the extreme drama that Prahlad went through, then why will he not look after his devotees of today? He will do, and he does do. He definitely does do. So therefore the devotees it is recommended that they become detached from material existence. Detached doesn't necessarily mean sort of vigorously opposed to it, but just not interested, not really interested in becoming rich and becoming famous and getting a big TV. What is the big one now? 104? Anyone, is it? How many? 106. See, he knows. We were in Richards Bay and we saw an 83 one. That was pretty big. It's okay to have a big TV. In fact, it's good. We're going to be coming out with videos of of pilgrimage places in India shortly, and they're in 4K, if you know what 4K means. It's big. 4 times the normal, 1080. So then it's okay. In fact, it's good to have a big TV, because we played some of this footage on the 83-inch, and it really looked amazing. But otherwise, if you want to watch Bollywood, not recommended. Not recommended. So rather we should be detached and simple living, high thinking, and just live like an adequate type of life. You don't have to live in poverty to be detached, but just, not extravagant. There was an interesting story in Back to Godhead a good few years ago, maybe 20 years ago, something like that, which was apparently from China. But it's a really good one. Listen to this. It's sort of, anyway, just listen to this. It's about this man, a wise man, who was very detached. So the wise man, he was living there, he had a son, and he had a horse. And he was just living, nothing special. But one day the horse ran away. Oh, and he had some foolish friends. So he had a son, a horse, and some foolish friends. So the horse ran away, now he's gone. And the foolish friends came and said, "Oh, your horse ran away. Oh, that's very bad." And the wise man said, "It may be bad, it may be good." The next day, the horse returned. And not only did the horse return, but he brought a friend with him, another horse, which was a wild horse. So now the wise man has 2 horses. And the foolish friends came and said, "Oh, that's very good. Now you've got 2 horses." And the wise man said, "Well, it may be good, it may be bad." The next day, the son, because the second one was a wild horse, the son climbed on the back of the wild horse and tried to sort of tame the horse. But the horse went wild and threw him off, and the son, his leg was broken. So now he's just lying down with a broken leg. So the foolish friends came, and what did they say? "Oh, that's very bad." And the wise man said, "Well, it may be good, it may be bad, it may be good." And then the next day, the local king declared war on the next kingdom. And the king sent his soldiers around to collect up all the strong young men to fight in the war, and maybe some of the strong young women too. And so those soldiers came around, and they heard that the wise man had a son of the right age. So they came in, and they saw the sons just lying there. And they thought, "Oh, a lazy one. Well, let's just take him, we'll put him in the front line." But then they saw his leg is broken, he can't even stand up. What to speak of fight in a war? So they left the son, and they went to the next place. And the foolish friends came, and what did they say? "Oh, that's very good." And what did the wise man say? "It may be good, it may be bad." And that's the end of the story, actually. You get the idea? The same things in different circumstances may be good or they may be bad. It depends. So yes, in Krishna consciousness, it's very important, to develop a sense of detachment on the basis of us being eternal persons, not just material bodies, just having to get more money and just get more material facility and all these things, just caught up in the rat race of material existence. Just live a responsible, simple life, adequate sort of life, and chant Hare Krishna, and cultivate your Krishna consciousness, and see how Krishna looks after you. It's really such an important thing and such a valuable thing for anyone who is a devotee or who's trying to be or to become a devotee, to do like that. And let me just have a look here. Oh yeah. And you know what? We talk of detachment, not to be attached to bad things, but also not to be so attached to good things. Many people would think, okay, bad things, oh yeah, I won't be attached to bad things. But good things, well, maybe I'll try and make the most of them. But Krishna knows. There you are sitting there. Krishna knows you better than you know you. And Krishna knows your strengths you have. At least you're here today. You could be jolling down at the beach. Yeah, right. But you're here. Well done. Extremely well done. It's great. But we should also not be attached to good things. But the tendency is to have, not be so detached from the good things. Yeah. I mean, maybe not attached like the materialistic people, not attached on that level, but not, totally detached from material good things. But bad things, who wants bad things? Just kick them all out, every single one of them. So Krishna, in order to help the devotees, sometimes, Hare Krishna, and not always, Krishna takes things away from his devotees. Not to hurt them, nothing like that, but to help them understand the principles involved. Because, and this point was made, you remember on Nrsingadev's appearance day in the evening, at the end I read 2 verses from Prahlad Maharaj, from the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he had made the point that the Lord is so kind to his devotees. He's just like a mother cat who is always just extremely kind. Here, look, here it is. This is it's actually from Sridhar Swami's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, chapter 9, verse 1. Not just a cat. Although very ferocious, the lioness is very kind to her cubs. Similarly, although very ferocious to non-devotees like Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsingadev is very, very soft and kind to devotees like Prahlad Maharaj. Of course, we're not on the level of Prahlad Maharaj, but, we're somewhere. We're somewhere in the picture of Krishna consciousness. Room for improvement. But the thing is that just to return to my notes, for today, what is it? There's a point here which is just, it's really quite amazing. Anyway, the basic point is that for a devotee, even materially auspicious things are inauspicious. Yeah, auspicious things. You get you get a promotion at work. It happens, doesn't it? It happens to devotees also. You get a promotion, so now you're making more money. But usually if you get a promotion, you have to work harder. So some devotees I know, and South Africans, they've been offered promotions at work with substantial increases of pay, but it became clear they were going to really have to do more work and have less time for their Krishna consciousness. So not a large number, but a number of devotees who I know, they refused the promotion. And the boss and their colleagues at work thought they were crazy. But they were not crazy, they were devotees. So they were earning. They were not suffering. They were not poverty-stricken. They were working, they were living, okay. But they had time to absorb themselves very nicely in Krishna consciousness. So we should try and do like that ourselves as devotees, live a moderate type of existence and just be absorbed in Krishna consciousness as much as possible. And the question of why good things happen to bad people, bad things happen to good people, or why anything happens to anyone, we should understand it. It's karma. It's karma. Let me give you one example I read about. I don't know if I've mentioned it here recently, but I saw in the news, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, one wife, widow, whose husband had just been killed in a sort of drunken brawl with he was also drunken and his drunken friends, and they got into a fight and he was killed. So prior to that, that man had won the lottery. And he had won like about $100,000 American dollars. Yeah, so immediately gave up work, bought a mansion, and, all the rest of it. And he's now living like a king, and so is his wife. But then somehow he had this drinking habit, and somehow he got into it, and he got too much into it, and he became a drunkard. And then one night he got into a fight, and he was killed. So the widow was saying, I wish he had never won the lottery, because we were living. We had enough. We were not struggling. But now look at the situation. I just lost my husband. Yeah. So we can understand from the position of Krishna consciousness why bad things happen to good people. It's from their previous lifetime. It could even be the current lifetime, particularly like if they're meat eaters, like regular meat eaters. Don't worry, it's going to catch up. Yeah. Or if not that, but from a previous lifetime. Yeah. Causality, it all makes sense like that. And it's not just some terrible mystery which you just get lost in. So, okay, we got a few questions here. Let's see if we can answer them all. Here we go, this is it. Why can't Krishna help to mitigate our circumstances? Yeah, when there are problems. Hey, Krishna's not so nice, is he? He's seeing me struggling and he's laughing. Ha, ha, ha. Silly fool. Well, I just mentioned, the principle is Krishna's very intelligent. He knows what we need much better than we know what we need. And that means what we need to progress in Krishna consciousness. So if someone can really utilize money in Krishna's service, Krishna may give lots. Like Ambarish Prabhu, I think maybe some of you know him personally. He's a very wealthy person. He has given, I don't even know how much, but it may be sort of between $50 and $100 million towards the construction of the temple in Mayapur. Yes, but he is a good devotee. He is chanting at least 16 rounds every day and following all the regulative principles. And his wife also. Yeah. So, but if one is prone to sort of abuse what Krishna gives you, then Krishna may not give you so much until you realize, hey, I've got to be more careful with the things which Krishna is giving me. Like, and I'm sure I've told the story. I was in one city in Russia, Samara, and one devotee who's a householder but maintains his family by doing book distribution and taking some profit from that. And they have their own house and so on. He told me, I want to get a car. I don't have a car. I want to get a car so I can travel around and distribute more books. But it must be a good car, not some beaten up old wreck. There's a saying in Russia, they say, I am not so rich that I can afford a cheap car, which is going to break down all the time. So he told me, I want a Mercedes-Benz, a new one, the big one. There's little ones and there's big ones, the big one, so I can take lots of books and go very quickly from town to town and distribute so many books. I came back 6 months later and he said, look, Krishna, I was praying to Krishna for a new Mercedes-Benz. He didn't understand. I should have prayed to Lord Chaitanya because he understands Sankirtan. He understands book distribution. Lord Krishna, not so much. So Krishna gave me a car. But, you wouldn't know, we don't have these types of cars in South Africa. I mean, they're like real poor people's cars. A Zhiguli. Yeah. So he said, yeah, he gave me a car, but it's a Zhiguli. And sure, so I have to be very careful. I can't go too far. And it's because Krishna doesn't understand book distribution. Anyway, okay. But you know what? There's an incident in Mahabharata where Maharaj Yudhisthira is speaking with Krishna. And Maharaj Yudhisthira says to Krishna, you know, Krishna, I want lots of money. Give me lots of money. And Krishna says, really? Oh, I thought all you wanted was to serve me. And Yudhisthira said, no. I want loads of money. And I want a big palace. In fact, I want a number of big palaces. And Krishna said, no, you're not serious, are you? And Yudhisthira said, I'm really serious. And he wanted a few other things too. And Krishna said, you know, I'm really disappointed. I thought you were my pure devotee and all you wanted was to serve me. And you just... Anyway, sorry. We're going to have to just carry on just shortly. For a few minutes. So Yudhisthira said, yes, but the thing is, there's so many people who say they don't want to surrender to you, to Krishna, because they're afraid he's going to take everything away from them. So I want the people to see, here is a devotee of Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath, Shri Giri Govardhan, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Just stay seated, relax. Relax. Shayan kara. Or maybe not quite that much. Yeah, so Yudhisthira said, I want them to see that here's a devotee and he has so much material things. So then they'll be happy to become devotees rather than being afraid that you're going to take everything away from them. Why can't Krishna help to mitigate our circumstances when there are problems? Well, he will do when he feels you've learnt enough. These difficulties are educational experiences. Why must one suffer in this life when one will have no recollection of his or her past life and deeds? Well, the thing is this. It's not that you need to remember all that you went through. In fact, it's not even possible to remember, if you've really gone through a lot, to remember everything in detail. But the thing is, in the end, when suffering is there, you really feel it. And when you really feel suffering for an extended period of time, then you really become concerned. How can I solve this problem? Really solve this problem? And then you become one of the categories of people who can then become devotees. So anyway, I think we'll leave it at that. And what is this? Oh, I see some gifts. Anyway, thank you all for listening very patiently. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for your interesting and captivating class and bringing humor in this otherwise serious topic. Can we show more appreciation to Maharaj?
Oh.
So we have some beautifully packaged books for our first-time guests. Can you please come forward and receive your gift from Maharaj?
First-time guests. Who's here for the first time? Never been here
Please
before.
don't feel shy.
Yeah. Yes, sir and madam, and just all of you come forward. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. Now,
Anyone from the same family? Anyone from the same family? Anyone from the same family?
where's more books and gifts and stuff? Who's the person in charge of all that? Five. Oh, they're just now coming, is it? Haribol. But what about those who didn't get?
So those who haven't received their gifts, please meet the devotees at the entrance, and they will over gifts to you.
I see. So they should go to the tables
Yes.
by the entrance.
At the entrance door, yes.
Okay, and the devotees there know,
Yes.
is it?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you missed out, please go to the tables. They've been informed, and just tell them you're here for the first time and you've come to pick up your gift. Okay, go ahead.
Quick announcements. The Vaishnavi Ministry presents the Vedic Vaishnavis, which is an online gathering to celebrate the inspiring lives of the Vaishnavi women of Vedic tradition. So this takes place today via Zoom at 5 p.m. and the speaker is Dr. Nitai Sevadi Mataji. For more details, please see our social media platforms. Just a few more announcements. Wednesday, the 6th of May, is Sri Ramananda Rai's disappearance anniversary. In terms of save the date, the Samskara course takes place in June and July. And Purushottama Adik Mas is between the 16th of May and the 13th of June. So today's love feast prasadam has been lovingly prepared by the unit 9 and 11, Namahata, headed by Tattva Darshan and Priya Radhika Mataji. A big thank you to them and the team. Thank you for attending the program and have a wonderful day further. We will now proceed with Aarti. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Bhulavani Vacharine Niveshesha Shunyavani Pasyachara Satarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Preda Chaitanya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Gita Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Gita Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo.
Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharyas Tadasisamad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Se Gohas Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamkund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Shri Radha Radhanath Ki. Shri Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the Samo devotees. All glories to the Samo devotees. All glories to the Samo devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namaste Narasingaya. Praladalata Hiranyakashipu Bhakshaha Silatam Kanakalaya Eton Resinga Paraton Resinga Yato Yato Yamitaton Resinga Pahen Resinga Ritaen Resinga Narasinghamadem Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamalavare Nakamadbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipo Tanu Brengam Keshavadrita Narahari Ropa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Nrsingadev, 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 Akesavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Nrsingadev, Jai Nrsingadev, Nrsingadev, Jai Nrsingadev. Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jai Prahlad Maharaj. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Shri Nrsingadev Bhagavan ke, Shri Prahlad Maharaj ke, Srila Prabhupada ke, Go Premanande.